Well, their county is then overrun by all of the cities, so they have no law enforcement to do that. So the mandate is that they do court security and they do paper services. Court isn't open other than Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and paper service you can do during those hours. So the further east you go, the more different it is for a sheriff and their duties over there than it is here. The further west you get, we're still sheriffs. Over there, they're just paper service administration. We're good again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. That's why I want you to give me the,
Yeah.
I don't want people to miss this if they don't have to. So do we as sheriffs want professional, competent leadership? Do you deserve that? Should you expect that?
Yes.
Absolutely. Should the Criminal Justice Training Commission be able to decertify law enforcement who don't measure up? Yeah, if it's done fairly and equally across the board. Can someone perform the administrative duties of the sheriff without certification? Yes. Yes. And make sure where I'm at here. So my job, so my certification for law enforcement through criminal justice gives me power and authority over people to conduct investigations and to arrest people, take away your freedom. I, as the sheriff, I don't know when the last time was I made an arrest on somebody. I got staff that does that. That's their job. My job is to run the office. It's policies and procedures, it's meetings, it's legislation, it's budgets, it's all this kind of stuff. So even though I still hold that certification and I can, if I want or need to, I can still make a traffic stop, I can still arrest somebody, I can still investigate. I, on a day-to-day basis, don't do that because I'm busy with all of the administrative stuff. So do I have to have a certification to be able to take away your freedom, to be able to do my day-to-day job? The answer is no, I don't. And there are actually some sheriffs who choose not to do that. They don't even wear a uniform. They wear a suit, they don't wear a gun, they don't wear a badge, they don't wear anything. They just walk around like a business person. Yes?
However, you just said that if you bring in other police from Idaho or a posse, you're granting them the
My
power of
authority.
your certification.
No, power of my authority as the sheriff, not power of my certification.
Got it. So they could arrest people
Yes,
under your authority as the sheriff?
correct. And they've done it a number of times in the past. We've done it for them, they've done it for us.
Gotcha. And that would be true even if you didn't have the certification?
Even if I didn't have the certification, I would be what would be kind of loosely termed as an administrative sheriff. So I have the authority and the responsibility of running the office for the citizens. I just wouldn't necessarily have the authority to go out and arrest somebody, which oddly enough, currently I could give myself a limited commission to be able to do that. So,
He also opens himself up to liability, granting
Yes.
authority to people.
every time you grant, I'm granting my authority under my liability, not under state liability. I'm personally taking on that. That's why a lot of us are very reluctant to do posses, because I'm saying, you as a citizen are credible, you're not gonna do anything stupid, you're gonna, be a shining example of what I need you to do, and then you do something silly and illegal or whatever, that's my liability. I get sued for that, not the state. So that's the power of those limited liability, or commissions. Should anyone have the ability or the right to remove the sheriff from office without involving the citizens who voted them into office? And I guess that's the question. My answer is absolutely not. Your answer may be different than that. You have to decide for yourself.
No.
So what is law enforcement doing to combat this?
Yeah.
So we're working very closely with our organizations, specifically the Washington Sheriff's Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs and the Washington State Sheriff's Association. There are others that are helping us out, but those are the primary ones in our state. We're trying to provide input to the writers of the bill. Again, we have a lobbyist through WASPIC who communicates with them on a very regular basis, like daily basis. Very in tune with law enforcement issues, got the attorney mind, he's a brilliant man. He was actually here this summer doing a talk about the legislative process, which the Selkirk Sun live streamed. I think they have a video where you can link into that and see his, it's a 2-hour presentation, but it walked you through how a bill becomes law. And I mean, it's just, he's fantastic. He's a very, very brilliant man. So we're keeping him involved in this to let them know what our concerns are and to let us know what their leanings are. We're actively communicating with our legislators to help them understand the issues. As you're all aware, we have 2 new representatives. They are both on board with us on this. I will actually be going over in February for our Law and Justice Day at the Capitol and talking with both of them, making sure that they're on board, that they understand what our issues, but that's one of the things that we're doing is keeping them in the loop. We're actually waiting to see the final language so we know exactly what they're going to attack us on. There's this and there's probably other stuff, so we want to make sure that we have a good argument for anything that they may be bringing up on us. And, like I'm doing tonight, I'm trying to educate the public so you are aware of it and you can keep abreast of what's happening. What can you do? Pay attention to upcoming legislation. And if you've ever tried that before, especially at the beginning of a legislative session, there are hundreds or thousands of proposed bills. Hey, let's throw this out there. It's hard to weed through that stuff, but you pick your poison. You go, I want to deal with law enforcement issues. I want to deal with taxing issues. I want to deal with whatever. And you look up the laws that they're proposing that have to do with those subjects and educate yourself on them. Who are the legislators that are pushing them? What is the language? How does this really affect us? Are there people I can call and ask to get a different opinion of this? Keep yourself informed and involved.
How
Yes.
can this be constitutional when we vote you in?
We don't think it is, but that doesn't stop them from trying. And our assumption is that they're gonna get some parts of this passed. We wanna fight that as hard as we can, and if they get some of this passed, we will absolutely challenge it. We don't think that it's constitutional, but as you know, that does not stop them from trying.
Washington State always,
Yes.
we pass current constitution.
Can we as an organization, because I'm not too familiar with researching upcoming legislation, and I hear what you're saying, but for me to go home and apply that, and I'm sure some of the other people in this room may not know how to apply that, is there a way for us to put together some sort of, maybe next meeting, a way for us to do a presentation so we can learn how to do this stuff so we can get.
So I would talk with leadership of the organization and see, but there's so much of it out there, and even as a law enforcement official, reading some of these bills, I'm like, what? You know, and then you read and you understand what it says, and you're like, okay, so how is this real world applicable? What is the good parts of this? What is the bad parts? Because they like to write this stuff where it sounds really, really good. It's really convincing, and yeah, this is a good thing. And then you start going, but wait a minute, what about this situation? Or what about that application? You're like, ooh, this is a really bad idea. So it can be very, very difficult to do. Getting involved in the process is the first part of it, and then networking with other like-minded folks, because you'll pick up on something that somebody else won't pick up on, and vice versa, and pretty quick you're like, you're collectively kind of coming up with a reasonable assessment of what's going on. So, yes.
Glenn, is this proposed legislation, what you're reading up there, is that to give them the ability to jerk your ticket without a day in court?
Yes. Yes. Like I said,
That doesn't fly.
well, for them it does. But that's one of our concerns with it. This doesn't make sense at all. But right now, Criminal Justice Training Commission, if they decide that they don't want me to have my certification for whatever reason, they pull that certification, and I have no recourse on it. We actually have, in our county, we have a complaint that was filed anonymously by a citizen, not to me, but to this new board. They filed a complaint there. The board contacted me and said, hey, there's been a complaint, just so you know. Like, well, who is it? What are they complaining about? And the complaints were the deputy was unprofessional. The deputy has a chip on their shoulder. The deputy doesn't believe me. Okay, so where's the violation in that? Just a second, Bill, and I will get to you. So you know, so I'm like, well, this is a moot point. I go through the calls that it could possibly, again, they're anonymous, so I'm guessing who this might be based on the date, the time, the deputy involved and all that. And I go through and I review and I'm like, there's nothing here. And so I told the state, I sent them a nice little letter. Actually, the first time they sent me an email, they said, hey, just so you know, there's this complaint. Does not request or require me to do anything. It just says, here it is. So I went, okay, no big problem. About a month and a half later, they send me another email that says, hey, whatever happened with that? Did you do anything with that? And what were your findings? And I'm like, well, nothing so far, but I guess if you're asking me to do something. So I looked into it a little bit, and that's when I came to the conclusion, there's nothing here. So I sent that information to the state, and I get an email back from them that says, great, we're going to continue our investigation. And the very next day, we get a public disclosure request from that entity regarding this deputy and those interactions with them. So actually what's been suggested to us now through the union is, don't cooperate. If they want that information, make them do a public disclosure request and make it, you know, as broad as they need to, but they're gonna have to be as specific as they can to get the information they need. But don't help them. Make them do the groundwork. And again, I've determined there is nothing, and I've documented this, and it's been in the deputy's file so that it's clear. I've looked into it, I find no fault. But that doesn't mean that they can't find fault for whatever reason, and they can still suck his certification away temporarily or permanently, and I have to live with that, and so do they. There's no recourse.
Does a person have the right to for a lawsuit in those cases?
They potentially could, but that would be, they'd be working with their union, they'd be working with an attorney and all that stuff. It's not something the county would be able to help them out with.
Well, we need to get their attorney's fees written into the legislation then.
Well, we need to stop them from doing this is what we need to do, but yes, I get where you're going with that. Bill?
Okay, to Eric's point, and a lot of you already know this, when you hear about these things, and then like in your organization, Glenn, if you will provide us with the bill number, and then whether it's a House bill or a Senate bill, and you go into the law.org and you plug that in, you can see the progress of all these bills, where they're at in the committees. You can then either automatically sign yourself up to continue to get specific emails on that issue, or you can actually sign up and say, I want to testify about that. And that's the part where the leadership, they've got to keep doing their job, but they can push that out downstream to all of you. And on these issues that we care about, certainly with the guns and everything else, and the immigration and everything else, this one's a hot one for us, and pretty much our main line of defense from everything we have in the state. So you can sign up, you can speak on the bills or not, but everything that's going on with that bill, who sponsored it, all of that information is as simply as putting in the bill at law.org, and the whole progress schedule
Right.
will have it there for you.
Yeah, law.leg.gov, go on to there, Bill is exactly right on that, and they make it so simple. The biggest thing that I see people getting hung up on and they don't want to participate is because one of the first questions they ask is, what's your address? Well, there's a reason they ask that, and I'm comfortable saying that it's not for nefarious purposes, but they want to know where you live so they know who your legislators are, who your representatives, because you can push a little button that says, any comment I make, send it to all of them. And so they want to make sure they get it to the right legislators, because it's weird, but I can't call and complain to a legislator over in Olympia. I mean, I can, but they're gonna go, you're not one of mine, so they don't listen. So you need to talk to your legislators, and they use that address so that they can determine who yours are. But it makes it very simple. You can say, I agree, I disagree. There's a box where you can provide, I think it's 4,000 or 5,000 characters. Please, 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 if you're gonna write a comment and send it to them, don't just say, this is unconstitutional. Got to explain to them why you think it's unconstitutional, what your point of view is. So, is it unconstitutional? Yes, I believe so, and this is why. And explain it as clearly as you can in that 4,000 to 5,000 characters that you have. The other thing is, again, Bill is correct. You can sign up to testify, and testifying is not that scary. As a normal citizen, you get, 3 minutes, I think, most of the time, 3 to 5 minutes to testify. They give elected officials and others a little bit longer if you need to. But have it written down what your points are. And when they say it's your turn, you can either do it in person, or a lot of times you can do it, via social media or Zoom or similar things. But you get on there and you read your statement. Just say, this is what I think, and go down through it, kind of time it and prep it so that you're within your 3 minutes and whatever. It's not that scary, it's not that hard to do.
But it's incredibly effective.
Yes, and I will tell you that we have found through talking to some of the legislators and through our lobbyists, and he's again talking to them every day, they look at law enforcement, specifically sheriffs, as being a whiny bunch of jerks who are never satisfied with anything. So they kind of go, yeah, whatever. When a citizen who can vote them in and out of office goes, hey, this is my opinion, they tend to listen to that. And we know that it's worked because what happened with our pursuit bill? The citizens spoke up and said, hey, we've been talking to them for years about that, saying this is a bad idea. Whoops, you did it anyways. It's a terrible idea. Here's the facts and stuff that say it's a terrible idea, and they didn't care what we had to say until the citizens went, whoa, we don't like this, and that was changed.
And a closing point on that, a tally is kept by the government on the pros and the cons, the people that are for and against that thing. That tally, basically in the last sessions last year, killed a whole bunch of bills. And that's really important. So
Yes.
when we get on one of these, we need everybody, all hands on deck, take a few minutes, make the call, and do that. And I know Bill Hassan will keep that hot front and center on some of these issues for you.
We're also gonna start trying to push some of this out on our social media page, our Facebook page, trying to keep people up. There's several little bits and pieces about, the history of the sheriff's office and how did we get to where we're at now. There's the 2 hours with James McMahon about how your legislation works and how you can participate. There's a few other things that we're gonna start pushing that out a little bit more to folks and keeping you informed on this as much as we can as we go along with it. So that's our hope and our plan with that. Yes, Tammy?
With that plan, if you put the bill number in there where we can click on it, it'll take us directly to the WA page and
Okay.
follow all those things down. Are you able to do that? I love.
I'm assuming that there's a way to do it. I'm not savvy enough to do it, but I will talk to my folks to kind of post on our social media and we'll figure it out.
Okay, good, because I do that all the time.
Yes.
One bird.
Yeah.
And
And the Selkirk Sun is here. They're a great partner with us, and if I give them information, they will print it for us. So I'm also gonna try to keep them, up on what's going on with this stuff as well. So I'm trying to give you multiple ways to kind of keep up on this. The last point that I had on this is your voice matters, and you need to help us spread the word on this. And if you have some of the details and just go, hey, there's a problem, they're trying to, ruin it for the sheriffs, that's enough to start with. We can all start digging and getting more information, but you gotta get the word out there. And you guys, I'm one guy with one voice, you're 30 people with 30 voices. So we just need as much help as we can get there, and that's a way that you can help. Even if you can't get involved and don't want to testify or, get involved otherwise, just help and spread the word. Yes, Robert?
Couple observations and then a request. James McMahon is brilliant, the WASPIC lobbyist. I went through the presentation. He's really good. So I'm comforted by the fact that he will be, and correct me if this is wrong, but kind of acting as the point guard for communicating the sheriff's position to as many of the legislators as possible. On the substance, this seems to me like, a variation on the defund the police. It's like, well, if you can't take their money away, take their power away.
Correct.
And then my request is each person in this room, some of your tax dollars go to fund the membership that the county has in the Washington Association of Counties. And the next wave of that is the representation that the county has from the commissioners in Olympia is by John Gentle. He's the guy who goes there almost every week or every other week, and it sits on the legislative steering committee. And my request is for you or James McMahon to coordinate with John such that his focus is on this issue. I mean, this seems to me like a really top-tier issue, but the more the county can play a role by collaborating with other counties and actors to kill the bill. We don't want to
Yes.
amend it, we want to kill it.
Yeah.
So, if you would let John know, here's
Yes.
what I'd expect of you in Olympia, and take it from there.
Absolutely.
And that was number one of what I said to our 7th district legislators was the sheriff needs to be supported. So I've already put that with our 2 guys that we sit over there, that was top priority.
Luckily, your comment about James McMahon, he is brilliant. He's a fantastic guy. He's fun to talk with. He looks like a logger half the time. He loves being outdoors. He loves pondering. The director of WASPIC, he's been a sheriff. He's been a chief of police. He's been an executive for years and years and years. Extremely intelligent individual. Just off the top of his head with law enforcement issues for years. So we've got brilliant representation. Steve actually does a newsletter that comes out more frequently during the legislative session, and it gives us little quips and bits of it. I'm gonna confirm with him that I can actually start posting those on our social media as well. So you get it directly from those folks as to what the issues are, what they're encountering in Olympia, and kind of what their concerns and potential fixes are. So I will confirm with that, and we'll start putting that on our social
Oh,
media.
yes, yes.
So, any other questions on that topic?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's a little bit different angle. What role would they expect the sheriff to play in any of those hate speech reports that are going to be enforced beginning in 2 years? I think that that legislation is supposed to be enacted in.
They haven't been clear with us exactly what their expectation is.
Oh, okay.
So we will find out.
Was this for arresting people for memes? Any anonymous complaint that you were, engaged in hate speech, or you disrespected somebody, or this, and it's supposed to go, be enacted in 2 years.
It's very sensitive. People are very sensitive, and if you said something I don't like, they want somebody to do, it's a crime now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on that. So, am I under my 2 hours?
Yeah, you've done a really good job, Ben.
Okay. And others that have asked the question. So with our new president coming in and vowing that he is going to take care of immigration, and he is going to start deporting people, and sheriffs are going to be a key part of that. Yeah. Okay, we're good on it. Let's go back to the very beginning of our conversation. I am a local law enforcement, certified by the state. I have no federal authority. So, I will not be enforcing federal law. We can participate with the feds in enforcement as an assisting agency. So if they come up here and they're gonna do a raid on a house that they think has a dozen illegals in it, we will more than likely go along with them to make sure that they're not violating people's rights, make sure that they're not doing inappropriate things at the scene, but we will not be actively taking a role in kicking somebody's door and taking somebody into custody. We'll be kind of in an observation mode with them. We will not take on the role of ICE or Border Patrol. We will not interfere with their right to enforce federal law. We will not and cannot hold anyone in our jail simply on federal charges. If they have a local charge, they have a DUI warrant, they assault somebody, I can hold them on that, but I cannot hold them in my jail simply for a federal hold. So they won't be coming to our jail.
You notify them?
I think that's the biggest change.
Yeah, if you have them in the custody on a legitimate charge, will you notify them, and you also know that they're on the ICON?
So currently we cannot. So we had an example earlier this summer where there was a collision out on Highway 2 headed out past Diamond Lake. Trooper showed up on the scene, there's multiple people in the vehicle. His little spidey sense goes, these people shouldn't be here. Law will not allow him to call Border Patrol and say, hey, got some people you might want to look at. And then hold them at the scene for them to come down and start it. You can't even make that call.
If you have a felony, something you have to arrest them for, then you then notify them, they generally have to bring them into your jail for what they did.
Currently, I can't. But that's where I intend or anticipate the largest change being, is that when Trump comes in, he's going to put enough pressure that we will be able to say, hey, I got somebody you might be wanting to look at. I've got them on local charges. They're anticipated to be here for 24 hours. And then it's up to ICE to come and do their thing. I anticipate we'll be able to get name, date, birth, whatever identifying information, but currently cannot.
Private citizens?
Private citizens can do whatever they want, but I can't feed you that information. So I can't tell you, hey, this is going on, call them on my behalf. Now you're acting as my agent, so it's still my authority, it's still my bad. So that's where I anticipate the biggest change being, is we will be able to start communicating with our federal partners like we should be able to do. And so that's where I see our role. But again, we're not going to interfere with them coming in and doing their job. That's not going to happen. There are some on the west side, some mostly chiefs on the west side, they're like, you're not coming to my town. We're not going to help. We're not going to allow you. We're not doing that. We're not interfering.
Let me then expand a little bit, and that's my final point. So, we're a border state, we're a border county, and we have had these meetings before, and my meetings were the tribe, you guys, border people, everybody works. And so, I know that there'll be some trying to define what's gonna happen here. But all of a sudden, you got a call from Border Patrol, says we are in a hot pursuit of somebody that's run the gates at the border. Will you assist in stopping it?
Yeah, because now they've committed a crime of eluding and probably speeding and reckless driving. Yeah, now they've first committed state offenses, so absolutely.
And I think those are the kinds of things, for those that don't think we should be doing anything, that will be important to be clear that if there are gonna be bad people here, they're still in the loop to stop that.
Correct.
Thank you. Hey,
police probably, brought, some people to work for him in an Oreille. I am Nosy Parker, okay, and walked over there to find out who these people. And I went Spanish and tea. So we did the translator with the phone. Then some stuff was disappearing off my phone. So I called the owner, and the owner called me back and told me that either one of them show up in the conference for the
Okay, and we can address that because it's trespassing or there's a state crime or at least something for us to investigate. Now, you as a citizen, you can call Border Patrol and say, hey, here's something.
Now it falls on us, because your hands are tied, but we can turn around and call for it.
Absolutely. You're not restrained by the same rules that I am.
Right. So what we do is we take the example of your.
Yep. And like I said, hopefully with Trump coming into office, hopefully that will change and I can have more free communication with Customs, Border Patrol, any other federal agency. But right now, we're kind of restrained on what we can do.
Well, is there anything else that we can do for you as far as right now, regular legislators, demanding that they do not, go ahead for?
I would start with our legislators, talk to them and let them know what your opinion is. Start there. Because this is not, as far as I'm aware, not actually a bill yet. We don't have a bill number, we don't have the full context, or at least a final draft of what the context is going to be. So there's not a lot for us to say, hey, go here and comment yet. So I would just start with your local legislators and just let them know, hey, listen, I understand that they're trying to attack the sheriff's position. I'm opposed to that. Let me know how I can help, let me know, keep me, informed, and just that kind of communication to start with, and we'll build off of that as we go forward and get more information.
So probably to stop them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Our legislators are under able and legal.
Yep. And both of them are great guys, both of
They're
them very, very in tune with what we're here, our way of thinking. So I have great, hope for both of them.
Hunter called me on 3 of my trips to and from Orlando.
You covered just about everything that you covered. Is there any more questions that are pertinent to what he's talking about? Who was it that said you could not talk to ICE?
That comes down from the state, from the governor's office. And kind of that sanctuary thing, yeah, from the government legislators and down to us. Yeah. So I guess there's a big thing going around up at the north end of the county about some license plate reader that Border Patrol has up there. So for years, they've offered us license plate readers and stuff, and we're considering it. We may get them at some point in time, but currently, even if I put out a license plate reader and it tells me that there's, a vehicle that they're looking for, I can't communicate that information to them. I can't share that with them. Even if I know exactly what they're looking for, I know the description, I know the license plate, and this, it just went by here, I can't call them and tell them that.
What if you did?
I would get in trouble, yes.
How would they know?
Oh, you sure your city will find you out?
I have a birdie on the side. You can tell us.
No, because then you're acting as my agent. So I can tell you, we're looking for this vehicle and call me if you see it, but I can't say, this Border Patrol is looking for this. If you see it, let me know, because now you're acting as my agent. Depends on who's interpreting.
Okay, this is go to the border. But then the border patrol talk to you.
More freely than I can talk to them.
Okay. Have they talked to you as to what the situation is at our borders?
Oh, yeah.
What?
There are other places, so our border is not so busy. It's not so busy that they can't keep up on who's going through and what's going on and do complete inspections and stuff. You go over to Blaine and some of these others that are really busy, where they're like, yeah, that one looks good, let it through. Our border is much more secure than that because there's just not the volume of traffic.
It'll be the 51st.
I'll stick around for a little while.
Thank you very much, Glenn, appreciate it.